We were born unequal. We were designed that way by the person that created us. There's a very good reason for that. And that reason pertains to an economic concept called specialisation. Specialisation is the idea that if we all decide to focus on what we're good at and only do that one thing, so that might be, I don't know, if you're really good at sport, specialise in that. If you're really good at making cake, specialise at that. If you're really good at maths and you've got an eye for a detail, then maybe you become an engineer. If you're good at speaking and analysis, maybe you become an economics teacher. So this is the idea of specialisation: is that we focus on what we're good at, and rather than the opposite situation, which is called self-sufficiency, where people produce the full range of goods and services that they would like to consume themselves. So under self-sufficiency, if I wanted to get my car repaired, I would have to try and fix it myself, and that wouldn't be efficient in terms of the amount of resources that it would need for me to do that, because it would just take me forever, in terms of time. It's much better for me to do some teaching, or maybe write a few articles, get the money needed to then take the car to a specialist, a car mechanic who knows what they're doing. So the idea then is that if we all specialise, the combined output of society will increase, and that's great news, because the more that society can produce, the more that we can consume, and we have a higher material standard of living. So that's kind of the idea of it. So it was a really good idea that God did create us all unique, the only example of us that will ever exist with our own unique skills and talents. And I guess our duty, whilst we're here, is to try and hone whatever talents God gave us, and to try and make the best of them. Some people are born with more talents than others, or talents that are considered to be more precious, more highly valued by society. In a free society, that's established through the price mechanism. So if you're good at cleaning, um, unfortunately for you, the market price of your service is lower than maybe if you're good at economics, or maybe brain surgery or something like that, where people are prepared to pay a higher price. But anyway, what we're supposed to do is to trade with one another. That's a crucial part of specialization, because specialization only functions with trade. If we were all to specialize, maybe me just producing beer, and without trade, it would mean that the only thing that I would have to sustain myself would be beer, which in the long run it might be pleasurable in the short run, but in the long run it would be a bad idea. So we're supposed to trade with each other. Again, I think that this is the economic system that God had in mind for us, which is basically free market capitalism, which is based on the premise of voluntary, mutually beneficial exchange. So I specialise in producing economics education. I then find other people who are willing to pay for my services, and then I use the money generated to go and buy things that I want from other specialists. And the beauty of this system is it's voluntary. So, for example, there's no exploitation. This is really, really important. That a lot of students are falsely taught. They're taught that free market capitalism is exploitative, which is just utter nonsense. If, for example, I willingly choose of my own accord to go and buy a packet of bread for €2, no one's forced me to do that. I've presumably done it because, from my subjective perspective, the bread is worth more to me than the €2 I had to give up to buy it. And also, you could look at it from the perspective of the baker who sold me the bread. From his or her perspective, the bread was worth less to them than the €2 I gave them. I wasn't forced to transact with the baker, and nor was the baker forced to transact with me. So therefore, because it's voluntary, the exchange will only exist if both sides are benefiting. This also applies to people who work as well, as employees. I used to work at a school in Guildford, and for 15 years I was pretty happy there. And various things happened, and from my perspective, I was valuing my time more highly than what the school was paying me in terms of a wage. So, of my own free will, I decided to stop working for the school. Um, and this is what can happen, if an employer exploits employees, the employees will just walk. This is in a free society. So, to recap then, so specialisation is about us focusing on what we're best at, and then trading with other specialists. And that trade takes place on a voluntary basis, which therefore precludes the possibility of anybody being exploited. Because if you're being exploited in a voluntary exchange, the thing to do, obviously, is to stop. There's always other options, always. So is there anything else that I would say at this point about specialisation and trade? Well, it's just a good thing. And the thing that we've got to be careful of is that as we move ever closer to a planned economy, a technocracy, that's the new hip term for the planned economy, where voluntary exchange is being supplanted with state coercion. The state will tell you what you're allowed to buy. The state will tell you whether you can work or not. This is what's happening now with COVID lockdowns. And also the state increasingly, although this might sound bizarre, but it's true, the state will actually dictate to you what goes inside your body, which incidentally is very different from a seatbelt. People often falsely equate arm spears with seatbelts, which is a stupid non-comparison, because seatbelts go on the outside of your body and you can remove them, unlike mRNA, which goes inside your body, and once it's in, you can't remove it. So anyway, that's a short video then for you about specialisation and voluntary, mutually beneficial exchange. And I think this is the economic system that God had in mind for us, is just free market capitalism. And the main reason, again, is that it's really efficient in terms of maximising production and therefore consumption possibilities. And it's also based around liberty, because in a free market society, only voluntary exchanges will persist, exchanges that benefit both parties, both the buyer and the seller. Okay, God bless to you.